All right, Nick, I got a question for you, brother.
Okay.
All right, and I need you to take it seriously, okay?
Okay. I feel like the fact that you're asking me to take it seriously means it's going to be utterly ridiculous, but sure. Okay.
If
We'll
you
go with
could
it.
be any item on the Taco Bell menu, what item would you be?
Probably some sort of quesadilla. I just feel like that embodies who I am the best as a Taco Bell item. I actually haven't eaten Taco Bell in forever. I think back in my cannabis enthusiast days, perhaps in college, it was a bit more of a thing. I feel like where you go to Taco Bell, and they were open like really late. It seemed like all the time. Like you go to Taco Bell at like 2 or 3 in the morning, especially around Providence. Just get garbage Taco Bell.
Oh man.
What about you?
So you're a quesadilla? Yeah, you're a classic. You just
just a classic. You know what you got.
You know what you
no holds barred.
Little kick in there with that special sauce.
Yeah, I don't pull any punches on you. I'm just a quesadilla. It's nice and safe. This is such a weird start. Josh is back. He's back.
Baby. We're back.
So what would you be?
A beefy potato burrito.
A beefy potato burrito?
Yep.
That's a thing.
I used to be 89 cents in the 2000s, but now I'm about $5. So I really had to come up.
You're just really you're really doing it.
Oh man.
You're really doing it.
You remember when Taco Bell got in trouble for having horse meat? And they just made like
I don't remember that one. I remember that I remember they got caught where it was like, wasn't it like 30 or 40% like grain, essentially, like basically bread they were putting in the meat? Like it was mostly just
I thought
bread
it was like
meat.
horse meat. Was it horse meat? Or maybe it was the pink slime, dude.
The pink slime? Oh yeah, that had horse meat in it.
Pink slime.
What's the pink? There's the slime that they put in.
Oh, you gotta look that up. You don't know about the pink slime?
No, is this a rabbit hole?
Oh yeah, no, you gotta look this up. This is like, and I think a lot of places got in trouble because like a majority of their meat was just this pink slime instead of actual like meat.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah, so yeah, you gotta look it up, dude. It just looks like silly putty.
I'll get right on that. As soon as we finish recording, I will look up the pink slime.
Great start.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast. What's going on, dude?
What's up, my man? It's good to be back. Yeah, Happy New Year, dude. It's so good to be back.
Happy New Year, listeners. I hope your 2025 is starting off strong. We're not even 2 days deep yet, and I'd say it's going pretty well so far.
Yeah. So far, so good, man. I really enjoyed 2025 so far. Back to work. Had a nice vacation. How was your Christmas, Nick?
It was fantastic. It was intense at times, but it was... I'll leave it at that.
As it can be, especially with young kids.
Yeah, it can be intense sometimes. More because of the adults, perhaps, than the kids sometimes. But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not gonna get into it. We had fun, and it was great.
Nice.
Pretty chill. We Christmas Eve over with Ash's family, and then Christmas Day a little bit more chill with my mom. So it was good. Santa was good to everybody.
That's awesome.
I have no complaints, zero complaints. What about you, buddy? How was your Christmas?
Oh, it was fantastic, man. Every year, I'm like, I don't think Christmas can get any better than this. And every year, it's just overdone. Like we just keep setting the bar higher and higher. And it's not like anything crazy. We're not doing anything wild, but it's just like the absolute joy that a 6-year-old gets out of Christmas is like something
he's in that perfect age. It was It was cool to see Rylan this year, actually, and she's like a little over 2, but she's finally getting the concept of presents. But I'm just so genuinely excited, and we did like the whole thing where we're like, oh yeah, Santa came last night and he brought presents for everybody. And she like opened her first present, and it was just Oreo cookies and like a toy, and then it was like she wanted to eat the Oreos and play with that toy, and we're like, hey, do you want to open up the other presents? And she's like, no.
She's like, nah,
I'm good.
I got Oreo in a car.
So
I'm good.
But we had that going, and then I was putting on the old Christmas vinyl albums I have, threw on some Nat King Cole to kick things off and kept it rolling. So that was really cool. Little Johnny Mathis. Yeah, it was great. But I'm just like, I know what you mean though, with where it's kind of just like, I'm like, this is awesome. I feel like you get to relive Christmas through your kids a little bit and see it through their eyes again and remember being a kid and remember what it feels like a little bit to be like super surprised and be opening up and tearing through gifts and like not wanting to open up the clothing gifts, and you want to open up like those solid gifts that are definitely toys.
Yeah, definitely toys. Yeah. Jeremiah is like I said, he's at like that prime age where it's like Santa is probably as real as he'll ever be for him right now.
Yeah,
he's full blown into every tradition.
The Bristol Santa, to clarify, that Santa. He's that Santa.
He's the one, dude.
Not the one that smells like meat and cheese that you mentioned.
No, not Christmas Tree Farm Santa, Bristol Santa. But so it was like, it's just magical, dude. And just it's Christmas music all day. It really is like being a kid again. And it was great, man. Cooked up some nice ribeyes for the family. It was woo-wee delicious.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. What else you been up to?
Doing some hiking. I think I'll save that for the main topic. I was kicking off winter as soon as it started, and I've been fortunate enough and had enough time to get up twice already. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. But other than that, just New Year's Eve, we're over my aunt's house. Spent a lot of time just around the house doing different stuff. De-Christmased our house a little bit, which is always kind of sad. It's always it's always sad taking down the tree, but it also like exploded with pine needles. Like that thing was done. It was ready to go. We were saying I think it's the most pine needles that I've ever had fall off one of the trees that we bought. I don't know if it was because we had like some of those cold days and it's like sort of near the heat, so it just got like vaporized on like week 2, somewhere around there. It was funny. I like threw it off our deck and there was like a cartoonish like silhouette of like just pine needles around where it dropped. It was like it just went down.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But nothing too eventful, I guess. Just a lot of time around the house, hanging out, spending time together, which has been fantastic.
You guys do anything special for New Year's?
We just go over my aunt's house. She's kind of taking the torch for that one, and we just do like dinner and played some guitar, which was a lot of fun. On Christmas, my voice was like shot because I'd been fighting a cold on and off. Yeah. And we ended up leaving early, and I didn't play guitar anyway, so it was nice on New Year's to sing some Christmas songs and whatnot. On Christmas Day, I played guitar too with my. It's funny. My aunt is like probably like a early 70s at this point, and grew up in Catholic school and stuff. So she is like the perfect person where I worked on some like different not new Christmas songs, new for me playing them, but like Angels We Have Heard on High and some of those other ones. And like she knows all the words by heart. So I had her belting it out with me at my mom's house on Christmas Day, and then we played a few more on New Year's Eve. But yeah, we had a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
A lot of fun, dude.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, what did you guys? Well, I know
we found ourselves. Yeah, we found ourselves in bed by like 9:30 on on New Year's Eve, dude.
So we made it up, I think, till maybe like 11:20ish, and that was about it. Yeah, we were like, we called it. I have no reservations anymore about that. Like, I feel like people, if you feel obligated to stay up for New Year's, you don't have to stay up for New Year's. It's gonna happen. I mean, unless like an asteroid hits the Earth or something, like it's gonna happen, and you won't know anyways if that happens. So
you'll be sound asleep.
That was a very melancholy statement, but
no,
it's a joyous time of year.
Yeah,
I was happy waking up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, having gotten a good night of sleep.
A great night's sleep.
Yeah.
I had a nice night's sleep too. I had we played a little Go Fish, dude. I had a nice. I grabbed some beer from Schilling. I got a nice German style Pilsner.
Schilling's up in Littleton. For those of you who don't know.
Yeah, shout out to Schilling.
Littleton, New Hampshire, kind of north of Franconia Notch if you keep heading along 93. But they have awesome food and awesome beer, and I think you can find it in a lot of the stores up there.
Yeah, I just got it from the store. Yeah. But Schilling's Jacobus.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. It hit me hard too.
Yeah, is that high? I was gonna say, is that high octane or is it like?
It's not. No, it's like it's like it's unleaded. It's definitely unleaded. It's not high octane. I couldn't do. Yeah, no, I could.
They have a couple.
It's definitely 89.
I think they have like it's basically like a Belgian strong ale. I think I got, or maybe a Doppelbock I got from them before, and I didn't realize it was like, excuse me, like 8.5%. And I had one. I'm like, whoo, that's all I need.
Yeah, they definitely had a stout in there. Now I'm like, ooh, I really want to get that, but I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
dude, like just that one 16-ounce. Like, I'm like, oh man, it's time for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I slept like a baby. Yeah, but no, it was good. It was a really good New Year's. We had a blast up in Waterville. And we'll talk about it more in a little bit. But yeah, it's a great little tradition that we do. But
yeah, I was gonna say you've been doing that for a few years now, right? 3 or 4 years.
I think ever since we
did the Valentine's Day one.
Yeah, we did like that Valentine's Day, President's Day trip back in God knows when. Jeremiah was probably
like 21 or something like that.
Yeah,
or maybe 2020.
2021.
It wasn't COVID. Well, not 2020 because it would have been.
I think it was.
Maybe it was just before COVID. Yeah. I know that we
couldn't go sit in the restaurants. We had to get the food.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We had to bring the food back into the.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember that.
It might have been 2020 or 2020.
I remember Ash and I did Tom Field Willie the first day before we met you, and it was cold the whole time we were there too. I remember it being freezing because me and you were out like freezing and
walking around
that frozen moose. You're like, just go out for a walk with me. I'm like, okay, that was a fun night.
Just walking around drinking beers in the square, dude.
Yeah, like, I have a picture of you with that moose somewhere. Maybe we'll have to dig that up. I don't know. We'll see how it looks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Maybe not. I'm not making any promises with that, listeners. And I do hope all our listeners, we do hope sincerely, had a happy New Year. 2024 was a really fun year for us, and we're continuing to do it in 2025.
Yeah. I almost forgot to mention too. I took a trip up to Boston on the Friday after Christmas, and we went to the Museum of Illusion over there at what is it? Faneuil Hall
you sent me a few pictures. Yeah, it's at Faneuil Hall.
Yeah, that was pretty sick, dude. That was like way better than I thought it was gonna be, and it wasn't that bad. I think it was like $30 a person or something like that.
For Boston, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and I think. Sawyer obviously got in for free. I think Jeremiah might have been $15, so
not bad.
No, it was really cool, dude. A lot of way more like visual illusions than I expected. Like,
is it sort of like magician type of stuff, or like literally just all different illusions?
Like perspective type stuff. So like a lot of like they had a big Ben Franklin, and wherever you moved in the room, it looked like the eyes were following you.
Oh.
There was a room that it looked like it was flat, but it was really tilted, and you can feel it as you're walking into the room. There was like one of those rooms that if you're standing on one side, you look huge, and if you're standing on the other side of the room, you look tiny. Like a lot of perspective stuff, a lot of, just illusion type stuff. So it was really cool. It wasn't magic. It was like art. It was like an art museum, except like all illusions. It was pretty cool.
That picture you got of all you was pretty neat.
Yeah. I gotta show you the one where it looks like we're sitting on the ceiling.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one's cool. But I'll send it out. I'll send it to you so you can put it on the socials. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun, dude. That's the Museum of Illusions in Boston.
Excellent. Yeah, we were actually, when you were saying prices, it made me think. I think we're thinking of trying to hit maybe the aquarium or something on this Sunday. And
yeah,
it's a little pricey.
It really is.
Just to see the fish. They're just fish.
Yeah. Maybe take her to the science museum or something, dude.
We're debating that, but we feel like she might be a little too young for like. I mean, they have a big children's area, but I'm like, we might pause on that one. I nerd out when I go there all the time, so. I might
take her to the Children's Museum in Fall River, dude, and just call it a day.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh, man.
No, I think Ash wants to go to Boston, so.
Enjoy. Have fun. It actually wasn't a bad ride in.
As much as I joke, yeah, I love the aquarium there, so.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad ride in or out, so I expected it to be way worse. It's always the parking that gets you in Boston, dude.
Yeah.
Because it was like $50, and I was there for like 3 hours.
Yep.
Like crazy.
It's not even like a prime time. Well, weekdays are probably worse though than a weekend too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Price gouging, dude. These people are crazy.
Such living outside of a very big city in the Northeast.
Oh man, you ready to get into Nick's music moment?
Yeah, buddy, let's do it.
All right, Nick's music moment is brought to you by Impact Botanicals. If you're ready to harness the power of plants and revolutionize your body care routine, look no further than Impact Botanicals. We're thrilled to recommend their Working Hands Balm as we're getting further into winter. Oh, you know you're going to need it. And also the recovery aid. Trust me, I need that. After the mattress that I slept on in New Hampshire, my back is killing me.
Just spraying yourself down completely. Oh, I used it with I had some plantar fasciitis going on in my foot from running, which I'm sure like I stretching and stuff helped. I was using that though, and I have to vouch for it. It's no BS. It worked very well, so I was pretty happy with it. And yeah, if you have any joint pain or muscular aches, it's the real deal. It worked very nicely, so I was happy, and then I'm alleviated.
Right from the horse's mouth.
I'm symptom free at this point, so.
Yeah, so if you're dealing with dry, cracked, or callous skin, the Working Hands Balm is going to be your new best friend. Using the healing powers of comfrey and calendula, it quickly restores your skin to its best condition and is ideal for those of us who are tough on our equipment. But that's not all. For those sore muscles that Nick was just talking about, plantar fasciitis, your joints, any of those things after a strenuous day, Recovery Aid is here to help. The complex formula is packed with anti-inflammatory herbs that repair damaged tissue and expedite your recovery. And best of all, it's CBD and most effective. It's CBD-free, and most effective when used regularly. Impact Botanical products are not just good for you, they're good for the planet too. All of their products are organic, produced with solar power, and with every purchase, they remove a pound of plastic from nature and convert it into energy. So if you're ready to change and transform your body care routine, check out Impact Botanicals today at myimpactbotanicals.com. And for our listeners, you can use promo code PUDS, that's PUDS, for 20% off your order and fast shipping. That's myimpactbotanicals.com, promo code PUDS for 20% off your order.
Excellent. So for tonight's Nick's music moment, I have the album Rome by The National that just dropped in December of 2024. So I guess technically last year at this point, even though it was like several weeks ago. So this album's called Rome because it was recorded on June 3rd, 2024 in Rome, capital Italy, capital city. I think everybody knows Rome, I hope. And it's a fully live album. Recorded really well. I'm pretty impressed with it, with how it's mixed and produced. I think they did a fantastic job with it. Sometimes live albums can be kind of hit or miss. And it's 21 tracks deep, so pretty much a full set length from them. I think a lot of people that have listened to this podcast probably are familiar to some degree with my musical tastes. The National, for sure, one of my favorite bands. And I think what I was reading, a lot of reviews of this kind of, I agreed with the sentiment that they're a lot different. Like there's something to see live. I think a lot of the songs and the way they sound live, a little bit more guitar driven. I'm tending to be a little bit more partial to how they sound live versus even on a lot of their studio albums and their studio stuff. I do wish it had maybe a little bit more of their older stuff on it. I get that they need to sort of plug the newer albums. I was not a big fan of the 2 albums ago. I'm trying to think of the first 2, Pages of Frankenstein. Just not a big fan of a lot of songs on that. And they do open up with a few songs off that. That being said, they kind of, I think they did a fantastic job of really balancing a set from really all different eras of their work. I think there's one that goes back to like maybe their first or second album, even that most people likely, even if you're a National fan, have never actually heard of or listened to before. So great live album. Highly encourage you to check it out if you like the National. And if you don't know who the National is, then maybe check them out because they're kind of a big deal at this point. Yeah. Rome by the National. Do we have Josh's jazzy music moment tonight?
We do, my boy. Nick, have you heard of Dijo?
I have. I probably already have this album. Are you going to bring up a song that's been all over Instagram and crap lately?
I love this song. Yeah, I love the song.
Back to the beginning.
End of beginning.
Yeah, end of beginning. Yeah, there you go. Josh, I was listening to this last winter, Josh. This is
you're so hipster. You're such a hipster, dude. I love it. I love it.
No, it's because I listen to Sirius XMU and stuff. That's the only reason. But no, for real, I've listened to that album probably. I think it came out around winter or March last year or something like that. I know I remember specifically it came on the radio when I was driving back from hiking Jefferson and Washington last March. There you go. So the single was at least, but it's everywhere now. Yeah.
Oh, I love that song too. It's so catchy.
It's a great song.
Do you know who the singer is?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
No, I don't know who the singer is.
All right. Now I'm gonna get you. So it's Joe Keery, and if you don't know who that is, he's Steve Harrington from Stranger Things.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
No kidding.
So that is him. Yep. And that's him on his own. He used to be actually in a band called Post Animal before he went on his own and went single. I think he left them in like 2019. But yeah, I thought I was gonna get you on this one, and because I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I think Nick would probably really like this.
Yeah.
It gives me like that.
The whole album is like, what's the name of the album? Is it End of Beginning? Or were you just gonna talk about that song?
No, the album name. No, it's all right. I already got it pulled up, my guy.
Cool.
So the album name is "Keep Your Head Up."
There you go. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it's not. It's. Oh, I think it is End of Beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a decent album though. I wouldn't say it's like I probably listened to it a few times. There's definitely 3 or 4 in my opinion, and take that for what you will. I'm no musical expert, but in my opinion, it's got like at least 3 or 4 good tracks on it. End of Beginning is by far the best song on that album though. It's just so good. And that's one of those songs too where it like flows into itself, where you could keep repeating it and it like flows right back into itself. It's good stuff. It's got that nice synth and stuff.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it has that. It almost gave me like that
synthy vibe.
That synthy, that synthy pop. No, it wasn't. It's not too poppy. Yeah, it's definitely really synthy. Not. Yeah, it's more 80s ish. Like,
for sure.
It gave me like that Bon Iver vibe a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean?
It's funny with Stranger Things too, in that reference with him in it, because I'm like, he must be really into like retro like sounding stuff, because that definitely is a throwback like late 70s, early 80s synth kind of thing going on. It doesn't sound like it was recorded at that, obviously, because it's new. It's recorded really well and mixed really well, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody's heard that single by now, because it is all over. It's all over social media. It's all over TikTok and everybody that you watch now.
Everybody's like New Year's or year 2024 recap is like with that. Do you ever feel possessive about music when you like know about a band and then everybody, like, again, case in point with this, where like I was listening to this song last year and I'm like that's just me. Okay. But I'm always like, I freaking knew about that song. Yeah, it's an awesome song. It's been out for like at least a year probably now. And everybody's like, oh, this song's amazing. I saw it on Instagram reel. It's like, good for you. Merry Christmas. No, I'm just kidding.
I like how curmudgeonly you get.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm being salty, but that's how I feel. It's probably unnecessary.
Josh, you like DJ now? Go fuck yourself.
Basically. It's so good.
Oh man.
No,
that's funny. But
I'm glad you're gonna enjoy it. No, it's a great artist, great song.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to hit you with the Stranger Things fact.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard it, check them out. DJ, End of Beginning.
All right, you want to roll into our main topic tonight?
Let's get it.
Okay, so since we've both been out hiking, tonight we're just going to sort of do a recap, I think, of some hikes. Since we are a hiking podcast. Yeah, Josh was out tearing it up. It's weird. I'm like, why am I sitting here working right now, and Josh is sending me pictures of him hiking? This doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I don't like it.
You could have came, dude. You could have and should have. You could have and should have come, but
we could have.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. Traditions stand in the way. So
Yeah.
Gotta do what's right.
We'll get up there.
Yeah, we'll get up there. But anyways, yeah, you're just freaking sending me pictures of you hiking, and I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, just solo recording another episode and putting it out for us. No big deal.
Listen,
thank you again, Stomp and Slasher, for I should say Mike and Stomp and the Slasher guys for letting us kind of plug another episode, and for plugging our interview with them. I thought the interview with them came out really well, and it was a great conversation. So I really wanted to return the favor and share out when I went on there for the first time. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. We really do appreciate it, like you said. But yeah, I went out there and I did my own thing. I did my own hiking without you.
I did send you a link. Maybe.
I already knew about that link. I was all over that link. I did ask you for advice on what you thought if Cascade Path would have been a good trail for us to do, something that we could have done, and maybe looking back on it, maybe it would have been. It really all depends. But there was, so let's backtrack a little bit. So let's see where we know Waterville Valley, but where were you staying? Yeah, so we go up to Waterville Valley every year for New Year's. We stayed in Thornton. We stayed in I think it's Goose Hollow.
Okay.
It's like so it's similar to the actual Waterville Valley. We actually we usually stay around that town square.
It's going to be really quick. I was going to be like, so it's like a hollow, but there's geese everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe how many geese there were.
There's so many. It's incredible. Anyway, sorry.
It's like a threatening one of geese, dude.
It's a little scary.
It's a little oppressive how many geese.
It's uncomfortable.
But so it was about 15 minutes outside of Waterville. But had its own like athletic club. So there was like the pool. We got to do the pool and the hot tub and all that stuff. So it didn't take away from that experience that Jeremiah likes to have and stuff like that. So, and we usually like to do like the tubing and stuff like that and kind of check out the arcade and different things. So, but this year we did it a little differently because we stayed, like I said, 15 minutes away from that town square. So, we rode up there, and of course, as soon as I got there, I had to stop at my favorite coffee spot on the way in, Mad River
Coffee.
Yeah, shout out to Mad River Coffee Roasters. I met some of the team over there, Callie, and I forgot the other girl's name, but super great coffee spot if you haven't been there before.
Fantastic beans. Fantastic.
I got you some. Oh yeah, we're gonna be bean swapping.
Yeah, we're gonna be bean swapping. Oh yes.
I can't come back without beans for my boy.
No.
But yeah. So and it's not even just the coffee. Like the coffee's great. It's fantastic. But dude, the food, like the breakfast sandwiches that they have there, are like 10 out of 10.
Good.
10 out of 10, dude. We stopped there every day. Like we were there for 3 days. We stopped there every day for breakfast, and it's so good. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Mad River Coffee Roasters, like head in there, grab yourself some coffee, grab yourself some food, and just chill in there. Check out the vibe, dude. We played Trivial Pursuit one day for like half an hour.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah. So so we popped in there, and then like I said, I had texted you looking for a hike to do, and we talked about a few, and then you sent me a link.
Right through
like
Waterville.
Waterville has their own little recommendations.
And it's an awesome website too. It's pretty cool with all family hikes. Yeah.
So we decided to do one of those. I kind of looked at something that was going to be easier, obviously with a 6-year-old and a 11-month-old infant that had to be strapped onto somebody. We didn't want to get too crazy. And the weather, it was raining like the whole ride up. It was kind of cold and rainy. Actually, it wasn't too cold. It was probably in the mid 40s and rainy. But like I said, after we stopped at Mad River, we ate there and just kind of hung out, and then the sun kind of started poking through. So yeah, we decided to head over and do the Big Pines Trail. Seemed easy enough. Reading about it, it didn't seem like it was anything we couldn't handle, and it was pretty cool. We picked up the path. I forget the name of the parking lot that we had to go park in.
Was it off like that main road, like 175, or
no?
Past
It's
Town Square area?
Livermore
Okay.
parking lot.
Yep. Okay.
So we picked up the path from there. Had to pay whatever the little fee is. I think it was like $5 or whatever. Because I don't know if it's a national park or whatever it is, but I had to pay the little parking fee. Little what's it called when there's nobody actually there to take your money?
Yeah, it's just self-service. So it's the White Mountain National Forest, but I believe the U.S. Forest Service maintains most of those trails. Yeah. So that's why in the Whites, like, you'll see different, like, some parking lots charge, some don't. I believe most of the ones maintained by the U.S. Forest Service. I might be wrong on that. Usually require like a $5 day pass fee or something like that. And while they might not check you, I mean, it's encouraged. Like, you just give them it's $5, like, compared to what, like, we were just talking about parking for $50 in Boston. Like, just give them $5. It goes towards trail maintenance and towards maintaining the parking lot in the forest. So do the right thing. So
I almost did the 89-cent potato burrito, Josh, and just didn't pay. But I'm proud of you. I'm a $5 burrito now, so I've come up in the world. So I said, you know what, I got to do the right thing. I could hear Nick in my head saying, you got to pay, you got to do it. So I paid the $5 parking, and we got geared up, strapped up, bundled up, and we started hiking. Nice, easy flat hike for the most part. Through it's kind of there's a road that's over there. I think it's just Livermore Road, actually.
Okay.
That you kind of follow for a good portion of the beginning. And I don't know if it's like cross country skiing.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I've yet to go out go out of that trailhead before to hike anything. I think you can get to like the Tri-Pyramids from there in the Osceolas and sort of into that sort of interior Waterville Valley area. But yeah, I've never gone out of there. I'm fairly certain the beginning of it is cross country skiing, but you can probably hike on it with snowshoes if there's more snow. But like, you guys were probably just hiking on ice, I'm assuming, more or less.
Yeah, it was not icy. In most parts, it wasn't icy. It definitely got icy in some parts where you could tell water was collecting there.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of more mushy snow. It wasn't really too bad. So yeah, we started hiking, got about, I think it's about a half a mile in, and then there's actually there's another trailhead for Boulder path. So we ended up splitting off and doing that Boulder path trail.
Cool.
And took a picture of the giant boulder.
Yeah, that was a big boulder.
Just sitting there. It's just sitting there in the middle of that river.
Okay.
And so we did that and then looped back and got back on the trail, and then we went over to do the Big Pines Trail. We got about 3/4 of the way through, and it got to this section where it was kind of a steep hike down.
Okay.
And because it was kind of slippery over there in the woods with Melissa was carrying the baby, so we didn't really want to risk her falling or anybody falling.
Do not blame you at all. Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah.
So we made the decision.
Did you guys? I was gonna ask, because it is called Big Pines, because I think it's all old growth pine forest. Did you guys? It looked like from some of the pictures that you guys were definitely in old growth pine forest, because like inordinately large trees.
Yeah, for sure. And then supposedly we didn't get to see it, but supposedly when you get to the end, there's like this giant pine tree over at the end. So we unfortunately didn't make it down there. We definitely want to go back and check it out because it was really nice. It was super easy to do, and
good family vibes for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely good family vibes. The trails weren't really marked from what I could tell, but it would have been very difficult to not stay on the trail, I think.
Yeah.
So we just turned around and headed back. It was altogether we did about almost 3 miles, 2.7 miles, and it was only about 180 feet of elevation gain. So definitely nothing crazy. Definitely super doable. And it was a good time. It rained a little bit, but the baby was a champ. She loves walking around, dude.
Cool.
She loves.
Yeah, I was gonna say how'd the kiddos, how'd Jeremiah do?
Jeremiah loved it, dude. He was having a blast. He was looking. There was I guess people walk their dogs. Maybe they were dog tracks, but I kept telling him they were bear tracks. So every time he saw some paw prints in the snow,
it's only awkward until you guys creep up on a black bear and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, there was a sign at the information little whatever you call that
kiosk.
Kiosk, yeah. That said beware of bears or watch out for bears or something like that. So, so we did that. That was the first day. Then we went and checked into the house, and then the second day, like I said, we usually go tubing at Waterville, and we didn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had for people that aren't maybe you haven't been watching New Hampshire weather, but I mean New Hampshire got blasted with the good old, it seems traditional December rainstorm, and it wiped out a bunch of the snowpack again. Maybe not as much up high, but down low it certainly did. And I also have to say you just had, I mean, it's just that time of year, but it's just bad luck sometimes where it's like there's plenty of snow up there even when I was up there, I think in November. For the tubing hill probably. So
they got I saw there on their website they had gotten on Christmas Eve, I think they got a bunch of nice powdery snow.
Yeah.
But by the time we got there, everything was clear. The paths that we had doing that hike were covered in snow, but I don't think they were very well traveled. So like I said, it looked like a lot of cross country skiing happens over there. So they were pretty clean. But yeah, we went to go do some tubing, and tubing ended up being closed because they had gotten a ton of rain the day before, and it was all mushy and jacked up. So we didn't end up getting to go tubing, but that wasn't really a big deal because we ended up just going to the town square, and there's a nice trail over there that we do almost every year that we've done. I don't think it really has a name. I think it leads to the Mad River trail.
Okay.
So we basically we take the little path, go over a couple bridges, and get to basically where the Mad River trail starts, and then we kind of just loop around and come back.
Where is it? Does it go around the town square, or is it just outside of it?
If you cut through the town square and go over that bridge, and you take a right, there's it's that trail. It just goes through the woods over there by the river, and then it goes underneath the road that's above there. There's a little tunnel that goes underneath that road.
Yeah, I haven't checked out over there before yet.
Yeah, it's not. It's.
I know I know relatively where you're talking about, but
yeah, it's probably a mile and a half total for the loop.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just basically walking by a bunch of it's following the stream, walking by the condos. It goes, like I said, it has the couple bridges that go over the stream or the river, and then you kind of get to the Mad River trailhead, and then we haven't taken it yet because we're always there with the kids, so it's would be a big hike for them, so they can't handle all that yet.
Yeah.
So we looped back, and then like I said, we usually hit the arcade too, but there's this retro arcade that every year I'm like, oh, we're going to get there. We got to get there. And we just have never gone. But this year we finally, because we were only staying about 5 minutes from that arcade, we finally made it to the retro arcade. And it was sick, dude. It was all old games from
oh, neat.
when we grew up and our parents grew up. There was like the old Dance Dance Revolution. There was.
Oh, that's neat.
I don't know if you remember that old skateboarding game that had the actual skateboard that you could do like
vaguely, yeah.
Yeah. They had Oregon Trail, dude. You could play the Oregon Trail. Yeah.
It's an oldie.
Those hockey, it's not air hockey, but it's like the guys on the sticks hockey in the big bubble.
Oh, yep. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. So we
cool.
played a lot of that. And it was cool because it was really cheap. Almost everything except for the hockey was 25 cents.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask how do they just charge? Because there's a place in Providence called Free Play that I've been to for like work gatherings a few times where it's like they charge you up front, but everything's for free is when you get in there. Free Play. But no, that's neat though. A quarter is very reasonable.
Yeah. So we checked that out, and then we kind of just headed back, went to the pool again, and then got ready for we do Christmas. New Year's Eve. The last 2 or 3 years we've gone out to dinner at this restaurant over what town is it in? It might also be in Thornton, but it's called Panorama.
Okay.
And we've gone there like the last 2 or 3 years, and we went and did dinner there. Ate, headed over to Waterville. We did the fireworks, the New Year's Eve fireworks, and yeah, it was a blast, man. Went back home, had another shilling, and went to bed, dude. It was great.
Awesome, dude. It sounds like a fun New Year's Eve and a great trip. Yeah, there's a ton of little areas and trails around Waterville Valley. Like, I think friend of the podcast, Troki's, like kind of showed me a little different areas. Like I did Snows last spring with him, and Snows Mountain is kind of actually that little ski area that's kind of near where the tubing hill usually is, but Cascade Path off there. Cascade Path might have been fine too, but I just didn't want to send you down there if there was any ice around those waterfalls. And like it's not. Yeah. There's one that you kind of got to go down near the river to get to it, and like also they were probably ripping. Not probably, like they definitely were ripping with all that rain that they got. So
it was ripping.
Yeah.
The house that we were staying at was right on. I don't know if it was part of the river. It was probably just a stream, but dude, you could hear it from inside. It was absolutely ripping,
raging.
Yeah, but no, there is a ton to hike over there. Nothing like we passed Smarts Brook, like it's right off the Smarts Brook's right there off the highway.
Yep.
So I said next time we'll give that a go next time.
Yeah, but
there's a ton.
Yeah, from that whole area, like I mean, you got like the Osceolas, you got Tecumseh, which is just the mountain that is part of like literally the ski resort, and then you can get to the Tri-Pyramids from that side. You can get to Snows. You can get to like Welch Dickey, obviously, is over there too. Welch Dickey, I think technically is in Thornton. It's not really. It's like on the way to Waterville Valley.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Sandwich Dome, Jennings Peak, Drake's Brook, which Troki, that's his adopted trail, is kind of off 175 as you're heading over there. But there's a bunch of hikes and varying difficulties that you can do. Very close.
It just feels like this. In that little area from the exit off of 93 to Waterville or a little bit past Waterville, I feel like there's so many actual different hikes that you can do in that little 15-minute ride that it is from the highway to where basically the furthest I've gone in there was when we this past time going to that parking lot.
Yeah, out of Livermore.
Yeah, so that's like it's like 15 minutes, and between there is like so many different hikes that you could do, which is wild.
Yeah, no, it's a cool spot.
But yeah, it was a great trip, man. It was fun to get out and do it, and yeah, for everybody that's asked me when am I going to go and do it, I told you when I have time I go. I'm not afraid to do it. Yeah, I'm not afraid to do it. I got to have the time to go and do it, and yeah, we made the time and we did it all as a family. So it was a great trip. It was a great way to spend New Year's. Like I said, I love doing it every year. Shout out to Waterville Valley. Shout out to Mad River Coffee Roasters. Like it keeps me coming back.
Yeah, big guy.
Oh man, but yeah, man, you've been doing some real hiking though.
Well, it's still all hiking, but yeah, I got up and bagging some winter 4,000 footers, gotten out a few times. been lucky having some free time on the weekend, though I've had to make it back for like obligations. It seems like every time I've been out hiking, but that's just, 'tis the season. We just got stuff going on, so I've been getting up real early and getting out. So I think one of the last episodes we were announcing that winter officially started on the 21st. So didn't waste too much time. I was reaching out my feelers for some hiking companions to join me, and to just spend time on the trail with. So the first 2 peaks that I tackled for my winter this year were East Osceola and Osceola, which we were just mentioning, kind of sit between the Kank and Waterville Valley. And commonly in the winter, generally, I should say in the winter, it's a lot more prevalent and common for people to do them from the Kangamangas Highway side. You can do them from a couple different options. The 2 biggest trailheads are the Greeley Ponds trailhead off of the Kank. It's right before the Hancock Overlook, or the hairpin turn on the Kank, if people know where the hairpin is. And then the other side is actually from Tripoli Road, and that's kind of the road that continues past the ski area from Waterville Valley into Tecumseh, but it's actually closed basically from November through May.
That's what I was going to ask. Isn't that closed?
Yeah, it's closed. So in the summer, if you want to do it from the summer route, you basically have a long road walk to go up to the Mount Osceola Trail, more from the south. So pretty much everybody does it from the Kank side, from what I understand, or it's just far more common to do it from the Kank in the winter. So from the Kank, it basically is 7.6 miles out and back with 3,100 feet to do East Osceola and Osceola. So I'm not going to lie, I've been a little intimidated by this hike. I've heard stories of people using ice axes and crampons, and it being very steep and having a couple challenging areas, to say the least. And yeah, it lived up to the reputation on 100%, I will say. I think we had a pretty good conditioned day for the hike. It was pretty icy, and again, this is before all the snow and before all the rain hit everything. But it was icy underneath, you could tell, but there was probably a good layer, I'd say a couple inches of snow down low, maybe a couple inches of snow right out of the parking lot. And then once you kind of start the Greeley Ponds Trail, you're on that for a mile or so, and then you bang a right on the Mount Osceola Trail, which will basically take you up and over the Osceolas. And if you were to follow it to its end, on the other side, you'd end up in Waterville Valley, but we were just going up to the Mount Osceola summit itself. So heading up that, once you leave the Greeley Ponds Trail to go up the Mount Osceola Trail, it gets very steep very quickly. You're not really doing too much elevation gain. And there's one stretch that goes up, I believe I was looking at this with, and I should mention I was doing this with friends of the podcast, Peter and Jake, and had a lot of fun. I hadn't been out hiking with them in a bit. And Jake was kind enough to meet up with me, since they live kind of around the Marlboro area. And I actually met up and drove up with them. So that was kind of nice. They saved me like 2 hours of driving each way. So
nice.
Thank you, Jake, again for driving and for reaching out. That was super nice. But anyways, back to the trail. But we're looking at sort of the trail map and whatnot, and looking at the topography. And there's one section where I believe I was looking at with Peter that goes up roughly 1,400 or 1,500 feet, about 0.7 miles. So 0.6, 0.7. So it's very, very steep. It climbs aggressively out of the woods. We all had, I believe Peter and Jake had just Catula microspikes on. I had a brand new pair of Hill Sounds on, which suited us mostly well all day. I think we all talked about breaking out K10s. We all had K10s and snowshoes on us. Didn't end up using them. I think the K10s would have probably been pretty handy. The weather this day also didn't look too bad, but it was definitely colder than it was forecasted, and it was much windier. So we really needed to keep moving. Sort of prioritized over that over kind of, I guess, our traction ability. I think if it was a little bit warmer and we could stop a little bit more, we might have thought about putting on K10s, at least for descending. But we were climbing up. There was a couple other people out on the trail, not too many. And that section going up East Osceola is quite aggressive. You keep going up and climbing, and eventually at one point you can see an open slide to your left. That's pretty cool. And it was funny because Peter was in front of me. And I was like, oh, there's a slide over here to the left. And then he's up in the front. He's like, there's a slide over here too. And the trail goes up it. So so that was probably one of the most open parts. Pretty exposed. We were kind of just holding on, going up trees and things like that. And more, I think I was more concerned at this point. I'm like, wow, are we going to come down this later? This is going to be a blast. So we're kind of going up, not super cold as we're all moving pretty good. And we get up, finally, you climb sort of this, maybe one other section, it kind of dives across the side hill. And then as you're approaching maybe the final 300 or 400 feet of the climb, you cross another completely open slide, which is really cool because you can see down to Greeley Pond, which is the namesake of the Greeley Ponds Trail before you cross onto that Mount Osceola Trail. But it literally looks like, I think this is the part that probably has been talked about and maybe freaks people out, because it's basically kind of an open, it must be like an open ledge or slide. I'll have to share some pictures with this post of it. And again, the pictures don't do it justice, but it was quite steep. If the footing was icy or sketchy, like, you absolutely would probably need an ice axe and crampons to get along the side of it safely, or you'd probably want that. It was a little hairy. It wasn't as bad as I built it up in my head, admittedly, but I think a big part of that was the conditions that day. We were kind of able to step in the snow and kind of kick in and feel pretty secure. Eventually, after that section, you pop out kind of on the shoulder of East Osceola, and immediately to your right, we noticed some footprints, and there was an outlook that me and Jake went on. And you can look around. From what we could see, it was kind of cloudy more towards the north, but you could actually see the proper summit of Osceola, so it was kind of cool. We could see the peak of East Osceola, maybe a couple hundred feet up on the trail. You could see the ridge leading up to it. Very pointed summit. I kind of didn't remember it being like that. It had been a while since Ash and I had been up there in the summer, like, I don't know, 2016, 2017. So kind of was going off details from what I remembered from that. And we hadn't done it from that side, so it's entirely new. But I got up to East Osceola. I think we all sort of swapped out of sort of our liner gloves. I made a rookie mistake here. As I always try to be honest on this podcast, and we do preach like hiking safety, and I do credit to having some experience before, but basically when we got to the summit of East Osceola, my hands were wet from liner gloves, because obviously you're hiking up, you're soaked in. A lot of it too is tough because we're grabbing onto trees and that have powdery snow on them and stuff, and your hands are just cold like as soon as you stop. And the wind was whipping enough even through the trees that it covered our tracks completely by the time we got back later that day. The wind was blowing in. We didn't need snowshoes. You could have used them between the Osceolas, but just to give you an idea of how windy it was blowing snow up through the trees enough to cover footprints everywhere. And I ended up I have newer, thicker liner gloves that I haven't used as much. And I actually put those on, and I had hand warmers too, and put them in my mittens and my right hand immediately. And this is totally like what we were talking about with Lynn, where you need to make sure you have circulation in your hands. Because my right glove was tight and my right hand was already cold, probably because I use it to grab stuff more going up is my guess. My right pinky got to the point where I was like having trouble, moving it a little bit, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So not lost feeling, but I could tell I'm losing dexterity in this. Like, this isn't fantastic. It's not a great feeling when you're like, oh, my pinky's kind of not doing its thing anymore. What I did was immediately, I told kind of Peter and Jake, I just cut up in front of them for a little bit. Not that they were like far behind me or anything, but just like to get myself moving again, to get warm. And then I took off that other liner glove and put 2 hand warmers in one of my mittens. I have heavy black diamond mittens. And eventually my hand warmed right up, probably within 5 or 10 minutes after that. So I was good. But just something to keep in mind is when your hands are cold, don't just, if they are like that, don't just restrict blood flow to your hands. You got to keep that open kind of circulation and open air to kind of warm your hands up. My left hand was totally fine the entire time. And I didn't have any more issues with being cold the entire hike. But it was one of those days where I believe Jake, who had a little device on his backpack, said I think it hit 6 or 7 degrees standing temperature, which is pretty cold in the middle of the day. And I would guess the wind chill was probably in the negative single to maybe even teens in spots. It was exceptionally cold up there. It wasn't a day where you're gonna chill out and kind of relax. We were just kind of getting it done. Wasn't bad in certain spots. We stopped. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. But anyways, we dive down. You end up going down, descending a couple hundred feet into the cold between East Osceola and Osceola. And here, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the infamous chimney section that sits between the Osceolas. It's a vertical rock chimney. I've gone up before in the summer. I didn't think it was particularly crazy, as long as you're comfortable putting your hands and stuff and kind of climbing vertically. I don't believe Ash and I went down it when we did the Osceolas way back. But to the right of the chimney, if you're ascending Osceola, coming back from east, there's a bypass, which the bypass is kind of funny because the bypass really isn't that much better than the chimney. It probably retains less ice, but it's more or less a little rock ledge that you're scrambling up. Going up it, again, not an issue, but we kind of all knew like, hey, it was probably going to be a little bit, at least for me, like I was thinking this might be interesting to come down. I'm not particularly looking forward to this. You could see a snowshoe track that was covered up in the woods. That's actually a bypass to the bypass, which I'm guessing a lot of people also use in the winter. We didn't use it at all because it wasn't broken out and we didn't feel like putting our snowshoes on and kind of busting it out and seeing what it was like. So we made our way up the chimney, which wasn't too bad, and eventually made our way up and over at Osceola. I think we stayed on the sun, and right before Osceola, Jake was kind of like, hey, we probably should stop to eat and drink some food, eat some food and drink some water. So we did find a little spot that was a little bit out of the wind, relatively speaking, and sort of hunkered down and just consumed some calories real quick and warmed up. And then we poked out on Osceola Summit. Everything was, I should mention too, there was kind of intermittent views between clouds, but Osceola was completely fogged up and clouded. There was almost sort of this low cloud ceiling that East Osceola wasn't really completely eaten up by it, but Osceola absolutely was. And it does have great views off the ledge and some of the viewpoints off the summit and the summit proper if you are up there on a nice clear day. So don't think like there's nothing up there. It's got really fantastic views if you catch it on the right day. But we hung up there for approximately maybe 2 minutes. We kind of took some pictures and we're getting the F down because it's freezing cold and we need to keep moving. Keep the fire burning, as it were, and made our way back down pretty uneventful until we did take note of the fact that our tracks were completely blown over in a lot of sections, and we were just going through there. So the wind and snow was blowing pretty good through the trees. And we got down the chimney section. I was definitely like, I don't really want to go down the bypass. Jake is a rock climber, so I think Jake's fairly comfortable, to say the least, going down ice rock faces. And Peter definitely was fairly confident. I think they were probably a little bit more confident initially. And then I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm like, I don't know what's under the snow in the bypass. So I'm like, we're just going to go for it. So I think Peter went down first, and we're it's kind of a skinny area. Like in the way it is with ice and snow, like one thing to note is like, you don't want to stack up on each other, because if someone falls and slides and you spike someone in the face or knock them off the ledge, like it's going to be not a good deal. So we're really trying not to rush each other, give each other time. And Peter went down first, and then I'm kind of around the corner watching Jake go down in front of me. And there was a little awkward section. It wasn't too bad as long as you know how to dig your spikes into rock or ice and you're kind of holding on to things. The last section of that bypass, though, you basically had to let yourself, I'd say, gracefully slide down the last 5 or 6 feet probably to the base of the snow. So that was kind of funny. We were joking, like, if you just sat there with a camera watching all the hikers come down and try to watch everybody negotiate, it was probably kind of funny. But like literally, like I saw Jake sort of slide out, and then I kind of was like, I'm not going to do it. And then like I did exactly the same thing. But luckily you're just kind of hitting the snow and nothing crazy. So it was good to get the chimney bypass with ice covered and rock on it done. I have to imagine if there's more snow, it's probably not as much of an issue. Like my spikes were definitely just digging into rock on part of it going down. So you're really just shimmying down and trying to make sure you can grab. But like a lot of times I think people don't realize like the going up in the ice in the winter isn't an issue as much as the coming down part is sometimes. So made our way through the woods back up to East Osceola and started descending. As soon as we started descending, even though we were in sort of, again, that terrain that was a little bit more difficult to negotiate, we all were super glad that we were out of the wind, because the wind must have been coming out of like the northwest or the west, I would guess. So it was pretty much blocked once we went down below East Osceola. Made it down some of the other sections, mostly like mix of butt sledding, grabbing trees. None of us threw our K10s on. I think we were pretty comfortable as long as we were going slow. And eventually made it back down to sort of where it started getting steep and back to the junction, which I think we're all pretty glad to see the junction sign for Greeley Ponds Trail back to the parking lot, and pretty uneventful from there. And the only thing I thought was a little bit comical, and this is just sort of like winter hiking, what your body gets used to when you're out, but we're all like, me and Peter were talking, like, and Jake are like, it must be like 20 degrees, 20, 30 degrees warmer down here than it was like on the summit of Osceola. And we get to Jake's car and like, someone was like, what temperature is it here? It must be like nice. And it was like 14 degrees or something. Like it wasn't warm at all. Like it was really cold. But compared to what Osceola in East Osceola felt like that day, it was like balmy. Like it wasn't bad at all. And got back again. Thanks Jake for driving. And they drove me back to my car and rode back home and went to a holiday gathering. So that was the Osceolas. They lived up to the reputation. I think a lot of it probably deals with conditions. we found an ice axe that someone left that we didn't find to claim it. So I think Jake was going to try to see if we could find the owner of it or whatever. An ice axe definitely could have helped in different parts, descending, to have something to punch into. I don't think it would be overkill if you're comfortable in K10s and you want to use, I'm just more comfortable in the hill sounds. I haven't used K10s as much. They would not have been overkill. I'm imagining, like I said, that one I would just really watch the conditions if you're going for it, and definitely bring a buddy on that one. I had it in my head, like I didn't want to do that one solo, but there's a couple spots where like you always got to think of like, just if something stupid happened and you twisted an ankle, like even if you're comfortable on that terrain, like you shouldn't be out on this one by yourself. Like I would flat out say, I think we all kind of agreed talking about that later. That's it. The Osceolas in winter from that side, not something you want to do by yourself. And like even if you're experienced, I still think it's just not the worst idea, but probably just not a great idea when you start to think about it on paper. So that made for 36 and 37.
We talk about it. It's
48. Yeah, you don't want to. There's certain hikes where I just get that vibe where at least and again, I know people have different comfort levels and I don't consider myself, I'm not an expert by any means. And everybody has their different comfortability level and their tolerance for risk. And that's not one in those conditions that I would ever do alone. Like I wouldn't want it. I think if I had been alone and went up there, once I hit some of those sections going up towards east, I would have given myself a 50-50 shot if I continued up there. Because I think or even on the chimney section, I would have been like, this just doesn't, I'm not comfortable enough doing this. And maybe if I did it more, like I would feel it, but it was above what my tolerance would be for hiking alone, for sure.
Yeah. I think this time of year, it's always a good idea to have a buddy with you. Like the conditions are just, they change so quickly. Like it can get so cold. Just like you said, you listen to your body well enough with your pinky, like, but who knows? Who knows if something else would have happened if you were by yourself? Like, it's good to have somebody else there to kind of maybe help you think straight sometimes, help you if you got an issue going on.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and especially when you're on trail that you haven't been up before either. I think Peter had been up that way before, but it had been a while. And in the winter, I'd take it. I'd be curious now to do in the summer. I feel like it probably is not, like, it's probably really cool. I mean, it had awesome views. I'll share some shots and stuff. I'm not trying to like fear monger anybody. There's much crazier routes in the whites. I did just want to call out that the White Mountain Guide, Steve Smith and Mike Dickerman's book, does have this listed as like basically one of the hardest and most challenging routes of any winter 48 peak. And having been this far through my journey with what I've got remaining, I would absolutely 100% agree that it was on, like, just in terms of like a lot of the obstacles and scrambling and slides and things like that, it was absolutely probably the most difficult trail I've been up. And that includes going up Adams, Madison, things like that. I mean, I've had good days for a lot of these and everything's very subjective, but I think if you just were on if you were on ice on that trail, like there's some sections where it's straight up like almost not a far cry from like an ice climb. Like, I mean, it's you're getting into really some steep terrain and some aggressive stuff and some really open. I think Steve Smith has a line where it's like that open slide where it's like if you slid down on ice and it was packed snow, like you're gonna go a long way and you're gonna get hurt. Like you could really get seriously injured. So that's definitely one. Again, I'm gonna talk it up like everybody else does, where I'm like, it can't be that bad. Like we're down there, so I'm like, this is pretty legit. Like I wasn't terrified, but I'm like, this is a thing for sure. It's a memorable experience. But thank you, Jake and Peter, again for joining. Had a blast on the trail with them, and I'm definitely be hiking more with them this winter. So it was good to kick things off. So that was our winter kickoff. Started it off with a bang. I kind of wanted to get those Osceolas over with, to say the least. And then I ended up getting out last weekend after Christmas. I had been in touch with Kate and know her. I've crossed her before in person with Fawn, who we had on the podcast, hiking Jefferson in Washington last year. And since then, have gone back and forth a lot, just chatting with her. She's a really great photographer. And kind of I'm not trying to badmouth all photographers, but she's also been very receptive to any questions I have about locations and where she's gotten pictures and like about taking night shots and stuff. So thank you, Kate. She's also a listener. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate that. I was mentioning this when I was talking to her on trail. But anyways, we were going back.
Shout out to Kate.
Shout out to Kate. But we were going back and forth a little bit, and she's working on her winter 48, and I think she grids as well. But we were kind of just chatting, and I was like, hey, like I think I'm gonna go for Carrigain, and she was mentioning her friend Susie was kind of down too, so we met and did Carrigain early, I believe on the 20. I think it was the 28th. I might have that wrong. I need a calendar in here. But anyways, we went up.
28th is a Saturday.
Or it would have been the 27th. So we ended up getting up there pretty early. Again, I had obligations. I needed to be back in the afternoon again. So I left home at like, I don't know, like 2:30, 2:15, something like that. I'm losing my brain.
That's insane.
Sometimes. But went to bed pretty early, got up early. Carrigain, unfortunately, is like a 3.5 hour ride, 3 hour and 15-minute ride to get to the trailhead. The trailhead for Mount Carrigain is off of 302. Sawyer River Road is the trailhead area. So Sawyer River Road is the road that basically cuts through. I forget where it ends, but it basically cuts south from 302. And it has a reputation of being washed out, and it's currently washed out. It's been washed out since the big December rainstorm they had last year. And it's my understanding that they only really fixed the road maybe 4 or 5 years previously. It had washed out from like a hurricane or a big rain event. So no matter what time of year you hike it now, you have to do a 2-mile road walk each way to the trailhead. It used to just be a winter thing that Sawyer River Road was closed and it wasn't open to traffic, and they didn't maintain it. So now you pretty much just have to, it turns the 10-mile hike into Carrigain from the road into like a 14-ish mile hike.
Damn.
So it's significant. It's more elevation. And instead of like, I think Carrigain might be like 3,200 feet and 10 miles if you did it from the road. From 302, basically, it turns it into like 4,000 feet and like 14 miles. So it turns it into a bit more of a thing, bit more of a chore to get out there and do Carrigain.
That's kind of wild. 2 miles just to get to the trailhead.
Yeah, it's a hike to get to the hike. So Susie, Kate, and I met up. I believe it was right around 6 a.m. And it was funny too. So there was basically this sort of weather phenomena called a temperature inversion that was occurring over those few days. And I'm not exactly familiar with why it happens or how it happens. I think it has to do with warm air pushing sort of the cold air down the valleys. But it was pretty wild. Like I thought it was not going to be that bad. And the forecasts were all over the place, probably because of this inversion. But I think we got to the trailhead and it was right around 0 or something like that. Like it was cold. It was pretty nippy. We didn't expect it to be as cold. Pulled off in the Sawyer River Road lot off 302 in the dark. There was actually a big group of hiking buddies going out. It looked like there were, I guess it was my understanding through chatting to people on the trail that there were 2 people that were looking to finish their 48 that day through a hiking buddies hike. So shout back to sort of Lynn and the hiking buddies, but they were out there doing their thing.
Hiking buddies.
And they were all kind of asking like, "Oh, are you guys in the hike?" And we're like, we're not in the hiking buddies group. Like we're our own little entity, I guess, today, even though we kept crossing them and
we don't want to be your buddy today.
Yeah, I don't want to be your friend. No, we weren't trying to be mean or anything, but like we're doing our own thing. And right out of the gate, I was joking with Kate that this was the shortcut in one of the photos I posted, or Kate rather was joking with me, but we saw some snowshoe tracks headed up. What I noticed now, it looks like it's some sort of old trail or maybe like a cross-country ski trail that heads off towards Mount Tremont, which is a 52 of the view. And we kept following it off to the right to this river over there, and we're thinking it's going to lead us to the road. And eventually the track just ends, which is depressing. So we're like, what do we do now? And we're kind of looking. So we end up having to backtrack. We can see the road in the embankment going up above us, but some of the portions are like way steeper than we want to negotiate that time of day. And also some of them just weren't very great to negotiate. I should mention too, we had snowshoes on this entire hike. So there was enough snow up there, and you generally should have snowshoes on.
Snowshoes.
Yeah. Nick had snowshoes on the whole day. I had my snowshoes on. But we backtracked, we're poking through the woods, and again, it's dark. We have our headlamps on, so we're kind of shining up, and eventually we can see sort of people coming up from the road, probably that hiking buddies group, and they're probably looking out at us being like, what the hell are these people doing? These people have no idea what they're doing.
No clue. They should have came with the buddies.
Yeah,
we know what we got going on over here. These guys are idiots.
Yeah, I believe one guy shouted down to us like, are you guys okay down there? I'm like, yeah, we were following a trail. We thought we assumed it lead back to the road. But eventually I ended up cutting up through the woods. We saw sort of a remnant trough that was covered in snow, and kind of poked our way up to the road. So like we're good to go once we got to the road. And at that point, sunrise was kind of starting a little bit, and the moon was a little sliver, which was pretty cool. I got some shots of that. And just walked up the road again for 2 miles to find the start of the, I believe, is it the Mount Carrigain Trail? I actually didn't write this portion down. I should know. I have a picture of it right here. Oh, please.
It's actually the Osprey Trail.
The Osprey Trail? It sounds like a load of BS. I'm second. Signal Ridge Trail. It's right on there. So the Signal Ridge Trail will take you the 5 miles up to the summit of Mount Carrigain. It's named after basically the prominent feature on Carrigain, and I believe it's more or less the second highest little mini summit off the true summit. But there's this big long ridge called Signal Ridge that sort of runs across and has pretty much the best views on Carrigain, other than the actual fire tower itself that's on the summit. The summit's entirely wooded, so that's where Signal Ridge Trail comes from. And we're poking through the woods, and it was like beautiful. Like, we were stopping to take pictures. Like, everything was covered in ice, and like the snow was like that type of, like, I swear we don't get snow like that down here. I don't know if it's because it's so cold, but like the snow was like glistening, like literally like in the sunlight. It looked like, I thought nice. I always think something's like wrong with my eyes at first. Like like, you know, when you like blast yourself with like a flash or something, and like you see spots, but no, it's just like glistening in the sunlight. The only thing, probably the only obstacle really on the bottom part of that is there is a river crossing, and that was a little tricky. We were able to sort of just step across it, stepping on some stones. There wasn't like a snow bridge or anything sort of good frozen across for us to use. So a little challenging, but not too bad. Until you get to maybe like 3-ish miles out from Carrigain, you cross a couple other trails at the bottom on your way up to Signal Ridge. It's more or less flat. It probably gains like a couple 100 feet of elevation gain. I would say it's just steady. And then eventually, like sort of that last 2 or 3 miles, you finally start to ascend up to Signal Ridge. And I think I'd probably, again, having that obligation later, I sort of gave Susie and Kate a heads up. And they were super understanding too, that I'm like, I might need to like sort of jet and kind of do my own thing and just like get up there and get down. So I think I hiked with them till probably around like 9:30ish. And at that point I was like, kind of like, I don't think I'm going to make my turnaround. And as much as a bummer it was to like leave, it was super nice chatting. It makes like the day hike go by like a lot faster. And we had some good conversation. It was great to finally hike with them, because I've definitely crossed both of them a few times and chatted with Kate a bunch. So thanks for hiking and hanging. We had a lot of fun. But took off basically at this point. There were some hiking buddies. It seemed like their group sort of splintered up a little bit. I knew that they were in front of me, and I was hoping that they sort of packed out the trail. The trail wasn't, I would say it wasn't like it was packed solid, but there was definitely, you could tell it had snowshoe traffic on it and maybe had some fresh powder on it. So I ended up following them in their tracks, crossed a few other people that I think were all part of that group, broke out to Signal Ridge, which was just beautiful up there. It was a spectacular bluebird day. And again, throwing it back to the temperature inversion, it was actually like, and I know that the days later, like things get warmer as the day goes on, but it was legitimately like, it was warmer still, I think, on Signal Ridge when I was up there than I swear it was at the trailhead. Like it had to be like in the 30s up there, even though I was at like 4,200, 4,300 feet. Like the trail, again, we're talking, it was 0 degrees when we started around there. So a big temperature difference. Even when I got back to the trailhead of my car, it was like 22 or something like that. So it was kind of weird where you got that warm air sitting up high for whatever reason. But took some pictures on Signal Ridge, ended up sort of just, I did have like a little bit of water there. And this spot was a little interesting. I'm curious how folks that maybe didn't have snowshoes on fared across this section later in the day, though. I mean, it had been packed out from a few people, but there were definitely spruce traps. Spruce traps, for those of you that aren't familiar, is sort of where snow ends up falling over like a bough of a tree, and you end up with sort of an air pocket underneath it. And if you step on it and go through it, you kind of just end up sinking, maybe potentially like chest deep in the snow, waist deep. I could see some spots where unfortunately, it looks like probably the people who broke out the trail for us earlier in the week had definitely sunk in. There were some pretty big spots. I stepped in one with I didn't step in all the way with a snowshoe, but I definitely was gingerly and very much trying to walk on the path that was trodden on before me and not venture off. And there was enough snow where like basically the snow was on the tops of the trees on the eastern side of Carrigain. So you get up there on Signal Ridge and you pretty much have a clear view from like north, I would guess like straight north almost all the way across to like southeast. Like you can almost see all the way from like Washington and like Crawford Notch. I should say really like Crawford Notch with Tomfield Willie to like the Prezzies, every peak you can imagine in between, because the visibility was just amazing. all the way down to like Chikura and like Whiteface past the Conaway to like your south, and actually over to the Osceolas a little bit, almost even. So went across there. There wasn't actually many bad blowdowns on the entire trail like I'd experienced on Pierce the weeks before, until I got to that section. It dips down a little bit before you make the final couple 100-foot climb up to the summit of Carrigain. And yeah, there was some pretty nasty blowdowns in there. I was ducking under and over some stuff. Could just kind of walk around them in the woods. Someone's definitely going to have their work cut out for them with a saw later in the season, unfortunately.
Oh man,
it was a little interesting. Eventually passed the last hiking buddy person that was in front for maybe like the last 100 foot of the climb or whatever. He let me pass him because I just was like, I'm going to go kind of deal. And got up there, and Carrigain has this beautiful fire tower on it that's been renovated. It's not like I think, like Josh knows, I'm not a big fan of man-made structures in the wilderness. I'm not a big fire tower fan and climbing them and stuff. But this one's not bad. I promise you. I did need to take my snowshoes off to walk up it because it was a little icy on the backside that was in the shadow. But from this fire tower that I would say is like 2 stories tall, maybe 2 or 3 stories, it's just like a 360-degree view of all the whites. And because of the central sort of location in the whites that Carrigain has and its prominence, and it's known for this, and it's why a lot of people pick to finish their 48 on Carrigain, but you can actually see 44 of the 48 4,000 footers in New Hampshire from the summit of it, among other things like peaks. Wow. Like you could absolutely see into Vermont when I was up there.
That's insane.
Again, like I was trying to appreciate it, but also be conscious of time. I like I said, took off my snowshoes, went up to the tower. There were a couple of people not too far behind me. I just hydrated. I ate a bunch of Reese's Christmas trees, as you do at this time of year, and some jerky and some peanuts. Go. And snapped a bunch of pictures and began to make my way back down. And up there, it was funny. Like it was warm. It wasn't bad temperature wise, but the breeze was cold enough that I had my shell on and like a fleece vest and stuff. So at that point, made my way back down, strapped on the snowshoes, and pretty uneventful. I was glad I crossed Kate and Susie again as they were approaching Signal Ridge, and we got a selfie together, and I kind of said hi, goodbye, nice hiking together. Kate was snapping a bunch of pictures with her camera, and she's already posted some amazing shots that she's gotten from that day. Like I said, the visibility was it was incredible. I think everybody was just saying it was a perfect bluebird day that day. And made my way back down, saw a bunch of people heading up. Ended up sort of leapfrogging with this one guy that I think was part of the Hiking Buddies group and chatted with him a little bit. Lost him probably around Sawyer River Road. And that was about it, other than taking note of the fact. And I'll leave this. I think we're going to end up doing maybe an episode on this with some sort of abandoned sort of hiking or White Mountain towns. But you actually go through. So that's in Livermore where Carrigain and that road is. So like the same Livermore, like named after like that parking lot and stuff. And it sort of sits between like Thornton and Waterville Valley and that whole area. But Livermore is actually an abandoned town. And when I didn't notice this in the summer, but on the way out, and I know there's way more buildings, but right along the road, there's some like really old abandoned buildings. It almost looks like you can see like, I guess like railroad trestles, sort of like the little like pylons that are sticking up for track. Like you definitely can pick them out in the woods. I'll have to get back there and explore some more. And I also realized,
I would love to explore an abandoned town, dude.
Yeah. It would be a good walk out there. It definitely would be a hike out there to see it, but yeah, it's cool. Like I took some pictures of some of the buildings and stuff, and I'll have to do some more research about that. But yeah, made my way out and took off the old snowshoes and changed quick, and then drove back, and also was going back to meet someone for a holiday birthday related dinner. So it was a solid day. That made for 38 out of 48. And I don't think I actually talked about like roughly the elevation gain I did mention, but it's around like the newer guide I think has like 14.6 miles or 14.4. It's around 14 and a half, and you're looking at about 3,900 to 4,000 feet. So it's nice. A solid day. It's a long day. I mean, I made really good time down. I think it took me under 3 hours going down, but that's like with not stopping with snowshoes on. So I wouldn't necessarily use that as a call. Like I would definitely give yourself plenty of the day to do Carrigain, especially if there's more snow and it's not packed out. Like breaking that thing out by yourself would be, I think, borderline impossible if you didn't have friends with you, frankly. And it was fresh snowfall. It's another one. Carrigain kind of just has a reputation of probably not really like the Bonds or something where it's like just super long in a slog. But it is a big day. It's a long day. The hike on the way out, I was saying to Kate and Susie, like I definitely appreciated the company, because the hike on the way out, those 2 miles on the road felt like a while. Like it was probably like 40 minutes, not even. But I felt like I was just like, man, am I at 302 yet? Like, when am I going to be there? Kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like once I got out of the woods, it's like once you get out of the woods to the road, you're like, oh, I'm home free, and you're like, oh, I still got to go 2 miles.
Right.
And I
can imagine it's a slug when there's nothing. You're not looking at anything. You're just on a road.
No, I mean,
there's no goal. The goal is just to get back to the car.
There's pretty views. I mean, you could see across to Mount Tremont, so it's kind of like nerding out a little bit looking at that, looking at my map on my phone and stuff. But for the most part, you're just kind of along a river, and there's trees and buildings, and so it was kind of cool. It preoccupied me a bit. And I was kind of curious too myself, looking at the status on the USFS website, but it basically still says that there's no plans anytime soon to fix that road. So the washout's significant along it. It more or less looks like the earth let way for like 150 feet, maybe down to the river. You kind of skirt along. It's not like sketchy to go alongside of it, but it's certainly not wide enough for a car. So I'm really curious if maybe they just might leave it in Carrigain, just going to become a 14-mile, 4,000-foot hike, and they're just going to call it. Before it used to, like I was saying, was just a winter thing. Now it's an all-season thing. But yeah, you do go through some really pretty forest, and some pretty valleys and stuff. And Carrigain has just outstanding views, from Signal Ridge and the fire tower.
Nice. Very
cool spot. And that's why people pick to finish it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man. So, continuing to plug away on the winter 4,000 footers. It was a great day. Been lucky with some pretty cold, but, not so much Carrigain. The Osceolas were really cold and kind of windy, but overall decent weather days. Carrigain was just beautiful. I think everybody really scored that day who was out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that's awesome. You're gonna have some good calendar pictures
for sure. Yeah, we're building them back up again. I got some great and I mean, I took my camera up with me, and I was kind of kicking myself for not bringing it. Like I had it in the car, like brought it with me. I know Kate took hers.
Oh no.
Yeah, I took it at the same time. I think I also would have probably taken much longer, and I actually hit some traffic on the way home that was unexpected, so I'm really glad I left when I did and kind of made it down. Cool. So yeah, that's the Osceolas and Carrigain in a nutshell.
Awesome. You ready to get into the descent?
Yeah, then let's do it. All right, man, you been watching anything? Checking anything new out media-wise? Consuming any media?
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. You know, I plugged it, I think, either last episode or the episode before that, but Squid Game Season 2.
I did my homework, Josh. I did my homework.
And, man, I didn't think it was going to be good. I didn't think, I was like, I don't know if they can do this twice.
Capture the magic again.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there you go. That's better.
But yeah, man, it was good. I was really into it. I binged it all in like a day and a half, and now I'm disappointed that it ended on that cliffhanger, and now I got to wait until like the middle or the end of this year to.
So did they announce when it's coming out? Or no?
No, I think this year. I think 2025. So I don't know exactly when, but I think it'll be released at some point this year. So we won't have to wait as long, but still.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of.
I don't think it's a spoiler either, because both Ash and I like accidentally stumbled upon that. I think just seeing people post stuff or whatever, like just you have to literally stay off the internet, I think, to not know that it ends in a cliffhanger. That doesn't give anything away about the plot, but it is. And I don't think it's the most shocking thing, because they just do that to sell shit nowadays. Pretty much everything ends in a cliffhanger. But I agree with you where they really like kind of did it again. I think there are parts they did where like, oh, is this going to be the same thing sort of again? And then they just it just went out the window. Like especially the last couple episodes, it went out the window. Like if you're familiar with the first one in the games, like you ain't seen nothing yet with the games that they have.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Do you have a favorite character from this season?
I don't know. I like the main character a lot. The dude Thanos, the kid, the rapper dude.
Oh, yeah.
He was wild.
Yeah, Thanos is funny.
I think he was just
funny.
He's funny.
Yeah. He's He's good. He's funny. I think my favorite character is actually, there's a, I guess spoiler alert, but there is a transgendered, person that's a man transitioning to a woman, and they are an absolute
they were
badass.
Yeah, Ash was saying that they were her favorite character. But they were like special forces basically.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Sick. Yeah, sick. But no, they, like you said, they crushed it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap it up.
Yeah, and I will say it's like Squid Games is definitely not for everybody. I think it's kind of this. I don't even know what it's like a dark sci-fi, like psycho thriller kind of deal. Like I don't even know how it crosses a lot of genres. It touches on a lot of different things, I think.
Yeah. It's almost.
But if you like the first one, watch this one for sure.
Yeah. It's almost what's that term? Stranger than fiction. It's like a Stranger than Fiction thing where it could be true.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be the most surprising thing if you found out that some like rich person was doing this.
Well, it's actually that's actually what I'm going to go to. Like, I'm pretty sure Mr. Beast is like doing the exact same thing. Like, so we're not that far removed from people literally, like somebody somewhere saying, you know what, let's actually do this for real. Because, like I said, Mr. Beast is giving some people like crazy money, and they're competing in the same type of games. Like, what's to stop desperate people from actually doing this and risking their lives or participating in something they don't even realize like they're gonna be basically killed on. Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy that is definitely a possibility, more of a possibility than it was before this show was a thing.
I'm just gonna give somebody the idea. They're gonna pick it up now.
Yeah, it's already there, dude. It's already, I think the idea is already there. It's just now who's gonna be twisted enough to actually go through with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta like look at. I'm sure there's so many like Easter eggs and things like that too. Like I think we talked about too. Like I watched the first season twice, but I think we'll go back and watch this one likely over again. I don't know if we'll do it back to back, but.
Yeah, I definitely gotta rewatch it too, because at the beginning I was kind of tuned out because I wasn't too into the other story that's happening. Like I said,
it's uninteresting.
Not gonna do spoilers, but that they turn away from that story like as you get further into the season. So, but yeah, good stuff, man. Sounds like you've been watching that too. So I don't know.
There's nothing really, honestly, that I'll like think of something like when I finish podcasting with you. It'll be something that'll probably pop in my head. But no, we've kind of just like we started, I think, around Christmas and we literally just finished it like yesterday afternoon. So
yeah. Nice. You ready to do a hypothetical?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
First hypothetical of 2025. So exciting.
First one. Let's do it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
With a bang. So, Nick.
Josh.
Let us assume that you have the ability to telekinetically change culture while you actively experience it. Your mind can now dictate what you see and hear. For example, if you were listening to Pearl Jam's Yield and you want the music to be heavier, it would immediately sound as though Mike McCready's guitar had been tuned differently in the studio. If you were watching The Office on NBC and decided that Jim should marry Pam or Karen or both, you can make it happen. All you would need to do is think about that specific desire. You could stare at an oil painting and unconsciously change the color contrasts. If a PG-13 romantic comedy grew dull, you could force it to evolve into an eroticized NC-17 thriller. You could essentially write books as you read them, eliminating certain characters and redirecting plot points as they occurred in the text. However, such changes would only apply to your experience. You could kill off Han Solo at the end of Return of the Jedi, but that would not change the movie for anyone else. All other people would possess the same personal psychic powers as you. So, Nick, would you want this ability? And if this became reality, would art retain any meaning whatsoever?
Wow, that's a crazy question.
It's deep.
So would I want to retain that ability? Was the first question?
Would you want this? So would you want this ability? So would you want the ability to basically change culture, however as you're experiencing it, to however you would want it to be changed?
No. I guess that's two-tiered with. So yes, I do think it sort of deconstructs art as a thing if everybody just changes it to what they want. I agree, it's a human expression, but I think a big part of art is kind of like, to me, it's like you look at a painting, or I guess I'll use music in the analogy, but like people are allowed to like music and not like music, and you kind of have to accept like people are putting their art out into the ether sort of for people to react to it and accept it. And I mean, there's certain art forms like writing where, I mean, it's not all of it's meant to be liked. Some of it's meant to be off-putting and meant to like make people think about things.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be agreeable. I think if everybody was just trying, because essentially like it's turning everybody's art into something that caters to you, like it just is like a shitty idea. Like I think it just would destroy the meaning of art and expression. I mean, you could argue that with AI generation and things like that, it's already happening to some degree. But at least it's still human driven by text usually, or some sort of human experience to create those things. Right. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic with that, but yeah. What do you think?
No, I'm with you, and you were on to a good point, because, I mean, the AI aspect of it is at some point somewhere somebody had to create something along those lines.
Like the genesis moment of like this thing.
Right. So, but I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I think if the way that I perceive everything is only the way that I want it to be, then everyone else's creativity in the entire world is now non-existent.
Yeah, it's like a moot point.
Right. So, and I'm not. I love experiencing art. I love art in all different kind of forms. I appreciate physical, like sculpture and painting, things like that. I appreciate the art of music. I appreciate the art of comic books and character creation and all that stuff. Backstories for things, like storytelling. Like, I can appreciate all that. I'm not creative enough to do any of those things. You know what I mean? So it would be a very hard pressed, because if you're, imagine a culture down the road where all everybody's ever done is now just made
what they want to hear.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So now down the road, eventually, it's going to be nothing. Yeah. Like, there's going to be no actual expression. And maybe that's where maybe on a deeper level, like you said before, maybe that's where we're heading with AI, dude. You never know.
Yeah. It's kind of a scary time. And I mean, this is, so to throw it back, I had mentioned I went to AWS reInvent, and one of the crazier things they had is a new technology, and I forget the product name. It's not important. What you just need to understand is the concept, but it actually will take text and generate like a 15-second cinematic quality, allegedly, from what they describe, clip on that. So, and I mean, they had examples at this conference of it. And I'm sure they picked the 1 out of 10,000 that looks amazing and is impressive. But regardless of it, it's like, it's kind of a weird path. And I mean, as someone who does music and photography and these things, I'm like, is it going to be like generate me a picture of Mount Washington kind of deal? Like, it's like, as opposed to like we had our friend Lori draw as a logo. Like, I think it loses. It's like, oh, people will be like, this is cool, but it's like it loses artistic value. Like, it really, and I think a lot of it, they cater towards like people that are marketing. They're like, instead of me paying a photographer or a filmer to go out and shoot this for me, I'll just generate it with AI. But I think I really do think with that path, though, that there's something so special about what and again, this is a little bit probably like a human complex of us being like an intelligent species and a bunch of other things. But like, I think there's something so special about what humans generate and the flaws that become sort of the things that make it perfect to a degree, that I don't think AI can ever do. I think it's always going to be, there might be deep fakes and I mean, it's already happening, and I'm sure this is what's kind of available to the public, not what necessarily government organizations or things like that are using. But I think there's always going to be that sort of like hair stand up on the back of your neck kind of thing where you're like, this is fake. It's not real. If it sounds too good to be true, if it sounds too ridiculous, if this thing looks too good, like it probably is. Like, I was like, I mean, there's certain artists who I really respect, like a musical artist like Neil Young, who like he would record stuff plenty of times, and if there's like a little mistake in there, like he would be like, leave it, because it's part of the song, it's part of the thing. Like, people don't play perfectly. It doesn't matter if you're a classically trained celloist or whomever that practices 1 million hours a day. Like, you're gonna mess up eventually. Like, humans aren't perfect. Like, I mean, that's this thing of like, it's inevitable that nobody really, I don't think, is perfect. And maybe really our definition of perfection is just different. This is going to a different place. But to me, it's like that perfect idea is what makes sort of art special, is part of the person creating it being imperfectly perfect. Like, I don't even know what you want to call it, but yeah.
There's almost a sterilization happening of
exactly. That's a good word for it.
You know what I mean? To make it, everything is that level of perfection. But like you said, it's not.
But it's just bullshit in the end. Like, that's kind of
exactly. That's not reality.
Yep.
Man, I didn't expect us to get this deep.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. Good setup.
Oh man. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so I think that's about it for us.
Yeah,
so don't forget to like, review, subscribe. Find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. We put these videos up on YouTube as well, and we are at PUDs_podcast. You still have stickers, Nick?
Yes, we still have stickers. If you're looking for some, I'm usually plugging those too on the gram, but we still have a bit left. I don't think we're ready for a reorder quite yet, but yeah, we've got stickers. If you just send us your name and address via Facebook Messenger, via message on Instagram or whatever, we'll send stickers out to you for free. Yeah. So
don't be afraid to interact with us. You can find all the pictures, everything, all of these hikes. We'll have those up on Instagram for sure, and we've already had them up too. I usually just share my stories. So, but I'll definitely be posting some for the post related to this. Cool. Yeah. So until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Hat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.